Guidance is internal. Ignition sequence starts. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Permission to board. Permission to come aboard. Permission to board. Permission to bring me aboard. Permission to come aboard.
Welcome to the Permission Granted podcast. Here's DA.
Welcome inside the freshest edition of the Permission Granted podcast, everybody. Thanks for being with us. DA with you right now. Mraz will join me coming up in a little bit. We'll discuss the BirthDA and how Mraz had a complete meltdown and failure to execute the plan that he had talked so confidently about for so many weeks here on the podcast. This is all off of the air stuff, so enjoy it. You won't get to hear this on the air. It's the same iTunes and SoundCloud feed as we use for the normal on-the-air show podcasts. So that is Facebook.com/The DA Show, where we embed these as well, and YouTube.com/The DA Show. Check them out there. Joining us now, though, let's do a little soccer in the middle of the Women's World Cup, as well as MLS Rivalry Week, and in the wake of the FIFA scandal and Sepp Blatter resignation, one of the greatest American soccer players ever, Cobi Jones. Cobi, how are you?
I'm doing fabulous, DA. Thanks for having me on.
Anytime, my man. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, let's start with Women's World Cup. Americans got a win last night over Colombia. They move on. But I want to ask you about the future of the women's international game. Here in the States, pretty healthy, but we've seen sparse crowds for a lot of matches. We know that organizers have to wonder about other bids for other places in hosting this. What do you think in terms of the American future of the women's game internationally, and then how that ties in internationally to other countries?
Okay, that's a great question. When we look at first the women's future within the United States, like you said, it's healthy and strong. It's going to continue to grow as long as the U.S. being the top dog, so to speak, as far as attention and their play as well, being up there as one of the major teams. It's always going to help the sport, internationally, because that's where everyone's going to be looking to is the U.S. team. As far as other countries, you talk about those sparse crowds. Look, it's a growing sport. It's going to take time, and with that growth, you're going to see different countries bidding on it with sparse crowds. But if you give it a few years and let the attention on the game continue to settle in, it's going to grow. It will get bigger. I have faith in the women's game to continue to exponentially grow and be strong in the future. We saw
FIFA get kind of blown up and Sepp Blatter resign and all this stuff with the FBI investigation. Hey, you played a long time in international matches, and we kind of always knew how corrupt FIFA was. Was this refreshing for you to see some revolution there?
The stories I could tell.
Yeah.
It truly is a situation where I was disappointed but not surprised by the situation at FIFA, as you kind of hinted at. I've been there a long time within the soccer realm, and you kind of hear the stories. You know there's been corruption allegations in the past, but to see it finally get brought out into the light and there's actual evidence and proof of stuff going on, look, it's a little bit disappointing because you're just like, this is the governing body of soccer in the whole world. But there was a little bit of expectation that something like that was going on. So to bring it to light, yes, I was happy with it because now it can be cleaned up. And that's what needs to happen. Clean up the sport at the highest levels, because that's where all the big decisions are made. So you want that to be as straight-laced as possible.
It's also interesting that it was the U.S. that got involved through the FBI. I mean, we're starting to be an emerging power here. But you've got all these other powers forever, the European powers, that never really did anything here. So the fact that the FBI got involved, does that suggest that the U.S., America, is becoming a more influential player on the international soccer stage?
Well, you know what? That's the big question. You said it. There's all these other countries. Why did it take the U.S. to have to do this? In my opinion, I think it's because they didn't care. They didn't care about the actual soccer aspect of maybe not getting the World Cup or being retaliated against within the soccer realm. It was about doing the right thing for the U.S. and not having that fear of what FIFA would do, and that's important because in the end, you want to be on the right side of history. And I think the U.S. is stepping up with the FBI investigation, leading the charge there was important. But let's not forget as well, maybe with a little bit of the urging of the U.S., that the Swiss side has their own investigation going on, too, within the actual bidding process for the 18 and 2022 World Cup. So that's going to be important, too. For me, I'm proud. I'm proud that the U.S. came through regardless of what, the little whispers are, in the back rooms back there because, like I just said, it's backroom whispering and it's people that are afraid, to come to light and say things out in public. I think that's the way things need to be.
Cobi Jones, our guest here on CBS Sports Radio. It also kind of is a cool thing, I think, for all of us American soccer fans that now the U.S. has this kind of international might when it comes to U.S. soccer, or it comes to international soccer, and are willing to put our necks on the line for that type of thing. It kind of suggests that, hey, you know what, soccer is here, and it's big business here in the States as well, and that's why there's a lot of attention. That's why we would be willing to go out and kind of make some changes like this, doesn't it?
Yes, straight up. Let's not forget that soccer is a billion-dollar business. I mean, and that's probably on the light side. I mean, when you're talking about FIFA, the organization, the amount of money that gets funneled through FIFA and what FIFA affects, it's absolutely, it's mind-boggling. I mean, because it's not only just what happens with the variety of different tournaments, the Women's World Cup, the Men's World Cup, the World Cups at all different levels, the under-20s, the international games, the different confederations, around the world, they all are through FIFA. I mean, and then everything, all the different sponsorships and everything else that tie into it. It's important to understand that this is major money. So for the United States to get in, to be a part of it, they had that understanding that this is bigger than just soccer. This is about, like we've seen, the corruption that's going on, and to clean that up is important to make sure that all that money is, or at least as much as possible, is being used the right way, that it's not just being funneled into certain people's pockets. This needs to be used to help with the betterment of the game, the betterment of people in general.
So soccer's doing really well here in the States, and it's at a healthy spot and a really important spot. And part of that is MLS. I mean, MLS is just healthier than it ever has been before financially. But they have added so many teams recently. Boy, you played in a league in MLS that was half of this size. Do we have to worry about overexpansion in MLS?
I think there's a little bit of a worry of expansion as far as the timing of it, that you don't want to just throw too many teams in such a short time that it waters down the talent pool. I think that's the only issue, because when we look at other sports leagues within the United States, it can support much more than the 20 teams and the 24 that's supposed to be coming in, and the potential, talking when we talk about where it's going to possibly 30 teams, I think the United States can easily handle that. And for me, I think it's perfect because it just sets up the perfect scenarios all around the country.
Is it refreshing for you to see all of these cities that have become kind of soccer mad overnight, like Orlando? Looks like Minnesota's going to be that same type of city. We've seen a number of soccer-specific stadiums. I mean, when you were playing, it was a league trying to get off the ground. Tampa Bay and Miami had to fold. Now it's kind of a totally different atmosphere. How do you view MLS versus when you were playing in the early days?
Well, it's very different. You kind of touched on it now. Like when I started, it was, okay, is this league going to survive? Now there's no question that it's going to survive. That you have the MLS bringing in major stars into the big cities, into New York, out in Seattle, into L.A. We got Gerrard coming into L.A. You have Frank Lampard coming into NYCFC. These are major stars. You have Kaká down in Orlando. That's one part of it. Then you have owners vying to get into this league, wanting to get into this league, bidding to get into this league, not only with their money, but saying, we're going to build soccer-specific stadiums in this country with training sites, and not just, a half thought. They're talking about building major facilities all the way around, not just the stadiums, but like, hey, look what we can do here with training sites. Look what we can add on and build around it. That tells you that the sport is here to stay, that it's going to be here for the long haul, and it's not just for TV. It's not just for the fan. They're talking about building and being a solid footholds within local communities.
Cobi Jones, our guest here on the DA Show on CBS Sports Radio. It's a different world for a young soccer fan than when you were growing up, than when I was growing up. There's so much access to so much good international soccer that really everything has changed. What do you think the tipping point has been for soccer fandom for young people here in the U.S.? Because really, it's really burgeoning at a rapid rate, and I think it's so different than it was maybe 15, 20 years ago.
I think there's a few different things. 15, 20 years ago, there, like you said, there weren't a lot of teams within the MLS. There wasn't too much coverage of soccer as far as the MLS and the national team. I think every time that the national team plays in a World Cup and does better, that brings more attention. We're the United States. Everyone loves an event. Everyone's going to pay attention to that, and we tap into those fans that watch for that one time and try to bring them into the MLS and see if we can get that same passion. That's what we do in MLS as far as establishing those rivalries between one team or the other. Be it the Cascadia Cup up in the Northwest, to the rivalry in Texas between FC Dallas and Houston. These are the big things that get the passion of the fan going, that has the fan, buy into it and want to be a part of it, and you see their excitement, and I think it just kind of bleeds out into the general public.
Yeah, you got MLS Heineken Rivalry Week, and as you're just kind of alluding to, man, there's a couple of really good ones in MLS. All the teams in the Pacific Northwest, the Cascadia Cup, so fun, so cool, such great crowds. Yeah. Who are your favorites when it comes to the Rivalry Week?
Well, that's one of them, the Cascadia Cup. I mean, that's out of all the rivalries. I think that's probably one of the most passionate, that you see, because that rivalry has been established from like in the 70s, till now. I'm excited to see when we talk about this Heineken rivalry week what happens in New York, because this is just starting out, but it still has the potential to be so much more, because it's going to be who's going to be the king of New York. You have the New York Red Bulls that have been here since the beginning of MLS, maybe in a different name, but pretty much the same organization, to a newcomer that's just stepping on the stage but is making big moves, bringing David Villa in, bringing Frank Lampard in, and possibly Pirlo as well, so they're making moves to be the top dog, so this is what you want to see, because then all of a sudden you have the fans picking and choosing sides, so it's not just what happens on the field, it's what happens between, fans and people within the city. Your neighbor could be cheering for Red Bull while you could be an NYCFC fan. Yeah,
it's interesting because both New York and LA have had interesting kind of histories with MLS. Galaxy has been wildly successful and popular, but then Chivas USA went under. That didn't work. Bad management. Here in New York City, the Red Bulls or the Metro Stars have been around for a long time, but they've always they've tried to get a foothold. It hasn't always been easy, and now NYCFC has jumped into the Yankee Stadium market and really spent a lot of money on players, etc. Do you think both New York and LA can sustain two MLS teams and have them healthy and have them successful?
Yes, easily. No doubt in my mind that both cities can support two teams. It's just about doing it right. That's what it's about. I think Chivas USA just really something that I can't say on the radio as far as how they handled the situation. They just didn't come out right. I mean, you can't put yourself in a market and have such a minimal view of the game. You're Chivas. You're only appealing to the Mexican fans and only certain fans within the Mexican community, and then within those fans, they're saying, no, the real Chivas is in Guadalajara, not in L.A. So you've just had such a small group that you could pick from. But now there's going to be another team within L.A. soon. LAFC is coming in, so I think they're going to be doing it right, and that's going to start a big rivalry with the L.A. Galaxy. And then here in New York, I mean, come on, this city can handle anything and everything,
True.
Around the world. So two teams here, not a problem at all. I think two soccer teams, is fabulous here. I mean, we got so many sports teams in New York. It's incredible.
Hey, final question, Cobi. You obviously have relationships and friendships around the game internationally. We mentioned some of the stars that are coming here to play in MLS from other countries, other leagues. Is MLS becoming a desirable spot for the biggest stars in the game to come and play? Because we all know Americans love name recognition and love stars, and that's what really turns a lot of fans into MLS fans here in the States.
Yes, it is. It's becoming a spot for the big stars to come to. Now the issue is when you get them. And I'll be very honest. Yes, we have stars that are a little bit older as far as the big name recognition stars, but the big push for MLS and what they've started to do, they're in the process, is trying to bring that age down where you can get them when they're in their late 20s or maybe early 30s. And the goal is for the MLS to get to be one of those top leagues around the world where you get the stars where they're in their mid-20s and say, this is where I want to spend my whole career. This is what we're finding with the U.S. players, that we have players like Josie Altidore coming back, Michael Bradley coming in, Clint Dempsey. This is huge. But let's not forget, we also have a lot of young international stars, within this game. I mean, we have talent, throughout the league that needs to be focused on as well and helped push and develop here within the United States, and that's an important part as well, because the young players are the future, and if we can keep them here, that's going to help in the long run, not only the players, but the league.
Cobi Jones is a U.S. Soccer Hall of Famer, one of the greats ever to be developed by this country, U.S. men's national team, and an MLS star for nearly 2 decades, joining us here on the show. You remember him in the World Cup, remember him in MLS. He's an analyst now for Fox, and you can follow him on Twitter, @Cobi Jones. On Instagram, it's @CobiJones13. One of the best. Cobi, man, it is always awesome to catch up with you. Thank you so much for getting up early with us, and we'll talk again, man.
All right. Thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks to Cobi Jones for joining us here on the show, man. That 1994 MLS, or that 1994 World Cup team, rather, was actually the team that really got me into soccer. I had played growing up, but that 94, that first World Cup here in the States, I remember buying trading cards with all those guys on them, and Tab Ramos and Tony Meola, and Cobi Jones and all those guys. That was such a fun team, such an awesome spectacle to have the World Cup here in the States. So always great to have Cobi join us here on the show, and really interesting stuff about the future of MLS. Joining us right now as well is Mr. Sean Mraz. Mraz, how you feeling after the BirthDA 36 over the weekend?
I was hurting for a couple days, but I'm finally back up to speed and back up to normal. I had a blast. Thank you very much.
No problem. Glad that you and your beautiful wife, Danielle, could come. I heard that you were burping up a little Dominican rum over the course of the next couple of days.
It was Father's Day. The next day was brutal as far as I just woke up. My throat was burning between the fireball and the rum, and every one of my burps smelled like that Dominican rum that your father just was, basically pouring right down my throat.
Yeah, he kind of became a drug dealer over the course of the party.
He did, and it was like quiet whispers to call you over to do the shot.
Come on, I know you want to do the shot. Come on, I know when you, and you'd have to kind of like move over to the group near the table.
Right,
that was kind of quiet, and then you would do a little shot, and then he would let you go again.
Right, and then about 15 minutes, it was sure enough, and it was as if he didn't even remember doing the shot with you 15 minutes earlier. It was just, it felt like 50 first dates.
Yeah. So that was great to have you here at the party, and we had a great time. I'm still doing cleanup days later. I can't believe how much chaos happened. But you had called your shot for weeks on end that you were on this podcast. You said you were going to either leave an upper decker in my toilet or you were just going to destroy my bathroom or mark your territory. And the night came, and you were there for hours on end, and you ate everything and drank everything in sight, and you never, ever executed the plan.
This will go down as one of the great unsolved mysteries, I think, in my lifetime. And I'm not just talking about me personally. I'm talking about in the world.
No, okay.
How I could be stuffed with Mexican food.
Bermuda Triangle, Amelia Earhart, and...
Me not staining the porcelain at your house.
Right.
Right. You feed me full of Mexican. I'm sitting there eating guacamole, which I don't normally eat.
And we thought Mexican was going to be a timing, a bomb that was about to go off at some point.
Always is for me no matter what.
Ticking time bomb.
Most food is. But no matter what happened, and I made several trips to do the other number, if you will.
Okay.
I was in the bathroom. I was in the landing area. Nothing could budge. There was the pipes, everything got clogged up. I don't know what happened. And there was no release valve release for another, basically 24 hours after.
Stage fright.
I've never experienced that in my life, because you know me. I mean, you'll be middle of talking to me on the show, and next thing you know, I'm giddying up out of the door, and basically, it's a photo finish.
Yeah.
But for some reason here,
You couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't deliver, and I'm really beginning to wonder if you slipped something in the food you were serving me, like a prevent defense situation.
That would have been actually really smart, but I don't know how I would have been able to do that since I kind of just put out the platter of food. So I don't know, but the gods were smiling upon me. I do remember the music was being handled by my brother and then my sister's boyfriend.
Right.
And so we had this great sound system, and I wanted little Michael Jackson. And so I know we played Billie Jean at one point.
Played it at one point?
And then I think we played it again.
I think I played like 3 straight times. I mean, enough's enough.
And then at some point, I went back to it, and your wife came over and said, DA, I've heard this song 4 times. Stop playing Billie Jean.
That was the scuttlebutt. Everybody was talking about that. Like, all right, do we need to hear Billie Jean again? He's a Mendo's. Love the Billie Jean.
Well, I love Michael Jackson. I love old school Michael Jackson. And at that point, I had one too many tequila cocktails, so I didn't remember having heard it the previous 3 times.
It literally, and at one point, it definitely played twice in a row. Where I think it was me, Berman, Brock, Danielle. We all looked at each other like, is he serious?
Well, the only thing was that everybody was dancing except the CBS guys.
Well, yeah, because, we were trying to get in the flow of the music. I don't need to hear the same song twice in a row. I got in the mix dancing later on. I was swinging on a pole by the end of the night.
Well, that's true. You did swing on a pole by the end of the night. Brock and Berman are real wallflowers.
They are wallflowers. They're people watchers.
Yeah,
if
people
you will.
watchers.
And I've been out with Brock before. Sometimes he'll boogie, but a lot of times he kind of gets in that, like he'll stir his drink and just observe everybody very creepily. They're the creepy guys at the bar.
Yeah, so it was interesting to see them in an unnatural habitat.
Right.
I've hung out with Brock before at a bar or social situations, but I'd never hung out really with a bitter Berman before. So it was interesting to see him in a social situation. His wife is far more social than he is.
Oh, she's a sweet. It's unbelievable that she saw anything in Berman. It really is. And not just, as far as outkicking the coverage, just personality-wise. She can get along with anybody. And Berman's he's no matter where he goes, he's bitter Berman. The man took off from work, seemed like he was having a good time, but still seemed miserable.
Yeah, he was really looking forward to the party. He took off a night of work. I know that he wanted to have a few cocktails to unwind. He had talked about it incessantly.
He did. I mean, he was crushing canned beer, too.
And when he got there, I couldn't tell if he was having a good time or not. It seemed like he was judging everything.
But I know that he did have a good time because, we had so many laughs, just talking. But it's just the way he is. He's an unusual person. But I mean, he was He basically might as well have been just slamming the Coors Light cans against his forehead by the end of the night. He was putting them down.
And at one point, Brock said, "Hey, can I delve into?" I think we had Modelo's over there, and I said, "Brock, this isn't elementary school. Whatever is here is for everybody. So stop drinking like a wuss and start drinking like a man. Have anything." And he said, "That's all I need to hear." And then from then on out, it was a freaking marathon.
Well, there was no doubt. What was great about that, especially if you're a good beer drinker, is you had the most eclectic version between people bringing in what you had set up of beers. It was unbelievable. Yeah. It was like opening up a 7-Eleven, glass can and just picking a bottle out of everything. You had almost everything there. I know I had brought Dos Equis and Bud Light Slimes, which were good, but you had, Coronas here, Modelo's here, Tecate's here. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, what I wanted was a really diverse combination because some people want the high-end beer when they go to a party.
Right.
They want the Modelo's, they want the Coronas, we had some Leinenkugel. Summer shandies.
That's right.
Some people want the high end, and some people just want to crush light beer. And so I bought 90 Coors Lights as well, because sometimes you just get into that mode where you're like, I need 20 Coors Lights
Right,
tonight.
exactly.
So, you got to mix it up a little bit, and I think that was the key. What was also the key was that everybody brought a bottle of alcohol, which meant by the end of the night, we just had... I mean, I don't know how I'm going to get through all of this. I really don't.
You have a lot left over because what happens is everybody cracks them open and they're all doing a little bit of everything, and then you have half bottles of everything left.
Yeah, I know. So a lot was left over, but it ended up being a good time. It was great to see you guys. We've got big news. The Wienership Challenge will be held on a Wednesday. So this is very exciting. Badlands Booker's coming in, and we are going to do a team relay. All of us here on the show will eat our hot dogs in unison, trying to get to tie or beat Badlands Booker. I think it's going to give us a better shot than when you took him on one-on-one last year.
Well, it's definitely an interesting idea because now this will be the third Wienership Challenge. You know, I was hesitant on this one because I'm always the guy at the top of the porch eating. And I think the idea of kind of always switching up the game a little bit. Last year we brought in a competitive eater. Now we're bringing in a competitive eater again, but going team versus one man. I think this makes things very interesting and really will pique the interest, I think, of the listeners. Like, can we keep up if it's not just one esophagus and one stomach working against one, but rather 4 or 5?
Yeah, we're tinkering with the format. You know, it's
right,
a little bit
exactly.
like how the NHL tinkered with the U.S. versus the Worlds.
East, West, and we got 2 guys picking teams. Right, exactly.
Yeah, so we're tinkering to see what format works best, but I think it's good to keep reinventing because we couldn't just put you up against everybody here in the studio because you would dominate them.
Right, it's a happy medium. Either I'm going to get dominated by the competitive eater or I'm going to dominate everybody else because I'm that much better than everybody else and that much worse than that person.
Yeah, so we had to find a new format, and I think this could work. What I love about this is that for the first 2 Wienerships, we were making the hot dogs.
Right.
You were bringing in your neighbor's hot dog machine.
Right, and I would have to boil the water all day. It was a real project. It's unbelievable how much hard labor I put into the Wienership Challenge the last 2 years.
You and I were shopping for hot dogs.
Right, I'm buying
buns,
the whole thing. It's a mess.
Bringing in condiments. This year, Nathan's is going to bring in all the hot dogs.
Which is great. I just hope that they have like a heater bag they bring them with. I don't need no cold wieners.
Do you like the Nathan's?
I love Nathan's.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I much like Jared Greenberg mentioned on the show, I'm more of a Hebrew National guy.
Interesting.
But give me a Nathan's any day. Not a ballpark Frank guy.
I'm not either. My favorite Frank of all time is actually, was it Conn's?
Oh, Conn's is good,
Conn's,
yeah.
But I don't see Conn's in the grocery stores anymore.
I probably haven't had one in about 10 years, but you're right.
That used to be the Shea Stadium hot dog.
Right, so that's where I've had the Conn's.
I got addicted to the Conn's. I love the Conn's. You never get the Conn's anymore.
Yeah, give me my Mount Rushmore, if you will,
okay.
A Hebrew National, a Nathan's, a Sabrett, and then probably give me an Oscar Mayer weenie.
A Sabrett's solid.
Sabrett is very solid, and they're rounded. It's almost like a slight horseshoe when you have a Sabrett.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
They seem to slide down real easy.
They do slide down real easy.
Wienership Challenge, year number 3 is coming up on Wednesday, so make sure you keep it locked right here for all the details. Going to try to stream that video live as well on our website, so cbssportsradio.com. We could have the live stream there. All right, you got Ward coming up. Bitter Berman, who you got?
We have Joe D making his podcast debut. Going to introduce everybody to Joe D and kind of peel back the curtain of Joe D a little bit.
Young Joltin Joe, the newest member of the DA show as he takes over for Planet Steve-O. Okay, very good. This is the Permission Granted podcast. Subscribe on iTunes, on SoundCloud, on Facebook, and on YouTube.
All right, welcome into Side B of the Permission Granted podcast. I am the executive producer of the DA show, Sean Mraz. And today, I will not be joined by James Ward. Obviously, I will no longer be joined by Steve Moralio. We won't even get Kenny Brock on the phone. And no, we won't even get Bitter Berman. Instead, making his Permission Granted podcast debut, we have Joe, let me see if I can get this right, D'Aloisio.
Wrong.
Joe D'Aloisio.
That was better.
Just give me the name, Joe.
Joe D'Aloisio.
Okay, well that's him, Joe D'Aloisio.
Boom.
Got it. Joe D. That's good enough for me. Joe, welcome to your first Permission Granted podcast, bud.
I'm excited to be here.
Are you excited to be here? Well, first I should say, forget the podcast part. Congratulations on becoming gainfully employed in the United States and earning a full-time job with none other than CBS Sports Radio and joining the DA show team. Are you excited?
I'm excited. I'm honored. I'm ready to be part of the staff, and I'm ready to make some moves here.
Make some moves. All right, well, give the listeners a little rundown. Where you come from, what's your age, what's your deal?
So I'm 23 years old.
Young guy. Okay.
Young gun in the business.
Right.
I was born in Eastchester, New York.
Okay. That's Westchester?
Yes, Eastchester, which is in Westchester County.
Doesn't make any sense, but carry on.
Okay, I went to Iona College.
Right, I could tell by the New York accent.
Why? Iona College, New York accent? I could have went to any other school in New York.
Yeah, people from Iona always have the accent. It's heavy.
What's that supposed to mean?
I know.
All right. Moving on.
Right.
I am a Green Bay Packers fan. Go Pack Go.
In New York. Okay, you front runner. Go on.
Front runner. Relax.
When did you become a Packer fan?
When I was a little kid.
Honestly, Brett Favre?
Brett Favre. My cousin, big Packer fan. When I was younger, spoiled me with Brett Favre gear. I stuck with it.
I mean, your dad...
Well, it's a disaster in my household.
What's your dad, Giant fan?
Dad is a Giants fan. I have an older brother, 8 years older than me. He's a Cowboy fan. Sundays are brutal.
First of all, what did your dad do?
Terrible parenting. Terrible.
Like, he's a Giant fan, and he's got two bozo sons who couldn't even enjoy those 2 Super Bowls with him in recent years.
No, he was...
And got to enjoy kicking your team's ass in both of them.
Well, listen... I know,
man, 07 must have been great for him.
He loved
Knocks one son out, the other one out right after.
He was in his glory mode. It was depressing. I no longer can go to any games with my dad when the Giants and Packers play against each other because the Giants beat our ass every time.
Okay, now, with your dad, do you root for the other teams he likes? Or, like, you abort ship on him with everything?
The only thing we all agree on is, unfortunately, the New York Knicks.
The New York Knicks. Oh, man, that's a rough household.
Brutal.
Now, you say you're going to Green Bay. You told me this off mic. You're going to Green Bay for Packers-Rams?
Correct.
Did I get that game right? This fall. Are you going solo? Who's going to go with you?
I am taking a road trip with my cousins who are all Packer fans.
The ones that introduced you to Favre and stuff. Okay, your dad's going to stay put, watch the Giants that weekend.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. I didn't want to call your dad out for being a fraud there, too. That would be big. Well, let's circle back in here. Just Packer fan the whole day. And baseball, you're a Met fan?
Unfortunately.
All right, so you root for a lot of losers. But we're going to have fun with football season. It's always nice to have something different in the mix because for the 2 years of the overnight, Kenny Brock was sitting back there. He's a big Eagle fan. And it worked I'm a Giant fan. He's an Eagle fan. And that was a lot of fun. Now getting you, James Ward's a Giant fan. Moralia was a Giant fan. Steve-O. So getting you with somebody different, that's going to make football season fun. So I'm looking forward to that. And I hope you're ready for the Giants to beat the Packers once again in a playoff game.
You really think that's happening?
Yeah, I do.
And why is that?
Because every time the Giants play the AFC East, guess what happens in the regular season? They go to a Super Bowl. Stars have aligned once again. It's in that pattern. We're back, baby.
Stop dreaming. It ain't happening.
I'm not dreaming. Okay, well, you're welcome aboard to the DA show now. You're in the mix here. You might be the youngest person ever to work on the DA show at 23 years old. How about that? What, in your past week of training, and now you started this week on your own, what have you taken away from the show? What are your likes? What are your dislikes of the program?
Man, there's a lot going on. I'll tell you that much.
There is a lot going on.
I've done more in the last 3 days working on the DA show than I've done in probably a year here at CBS Sports Radio.
Is that right? So is the DA show the most complicated show you've worked on?
By far.
By far.
So many moving pieces. You got to be locked in. Phone away. No social media. Can't pull a Pablo Sandoval and go and check my Instagram. Not happening.
Well, what's your favorite part of the DA show? The favorite. One thing.
One thing?
Working with me.
That's definitely not a favorite.
Well, what? Okay, so before we continue on with this, you touched on this on the show when DA introduced you on Monday night. What about? Because I could already sense, you're a funny guy, you're a young guy, you got a lot of brashness, you want to make waves. I understand that. But you've taken a lot of shots and you've made a lot of comments at me, and I haven't had somebody like that since Kenny in a couple years. And I wonder what about you is making you do all these things to me, say all these things to me. What about me bothers you?
I'm just being honest.
You've called me lazy, a slob, a pig, several other words. What did I do to make you feel that way?
I'm just being honest with you, Mraz.
What? Well, but we can't go on like that. You got to respect me. I'm your elder, and I'm your executive producer.
Do you want an apology?
I think one should be ushered, yeah.
Not yet. It ain't happening.
Okay. All right. I don't like the... I'm going to tell you another thing, too. We have this Wienership Challenge coming up here, which is going to go down on Wednesday, July 1st, which I presume you're expected to come back in for?
I'll come in.
Okay, which we like, because Steve-O did that for the Chicken Challenge as well. We'll have Badlands Booker in studio, and we're still hammering out the official details, but that's going down next week. That's a big moment for you, Joe, because you're going to talk a big game, and you're going to take out the executive producer at his knees here. You better deliver. You better not be a wimp on the big stage, because you're going to have a lot of big DA show moments. Steve-O came through in that Chicken Challenge eating 50 nuggets, put up a fight. Steve-O was big with the harmonica in the music video. James has made waves. He's been established. We can't have some kind of wimp come through and not bring anything to the table on the show. Are you prepared to do that?
I'm ready to go. I'm ready to take the next step. Whatever it takes, I'm ready.
Now, a guy who's filled in for the DA show several times, one of my friends in the business, John Kincaid, has spoke very highly of you. When you got the job, spoke to him, the whole deal. He was, hey, you're going to love Joe. I work with him on Sunday morning. Joe. Why does John Kincaid love you so much?
He just loves my work ethic.
Your worthless ethic?
No, not worthless. My work ethic.
Your work ethic. What? I don't understand. Everybody keeps bragging about your work No, I'm saying it wrong. Work ethic. What's so great about your work ethic? Because you're a go-getter?
I'm a go-getter. I get here early. I get everything that I
need.
Yeah,
enough with that nonsense, too. The past couple days, I get in at 2 p.m. Eastern, 4 hours before the show. As DA made reference to, I'm here for 8 hours. I punch in, I punch out. That's the end of me. You're due to work 4 to midnight Eastern. You're due to come in 2 hours after me, and you're the one who does the post-show stuff. But you've been strolling in at like 2:30. I'm a half hour in. You're surprising me early. Can you stop trying to be an overachiever?
I just want to get things done so I don't have to worry about getting it done under pressure.
But don't you want to enjoy your life?
I'm enjoying it. I'm 23 years old. I'm working at CBS Sports Radio. It's great.
What a dream. Huh? What a dream.
I'm living the dream.
Just stop being such a go-getter, because you know what happens when you're a go-getter? Then other people like me are expected to be go-getters, and we can't have too many go-getters.
So I'll stop.
No, I think you should work hard. I think you should have the right attitude, and you do have the right attitude. Just pump the brakes on putting in the extra hours, man. We get it, all right? You're a young kid who's happy to have his first job. Pump the brakes.
All right, Friday, I'll come in at 4:05. How's that sound?
Well, 4 o'clock still your time. Don't come in late. Why would you come in late now?
Well, now you're complaining I'm here too early, so now I'm going to come a few minutes late.
Joe, that's all I'm saying. It's just, people are going to expect more from me, and you're going to hurt me here.
I can't do that to you.
Okay. Well, circling back now, as we come full circle, in your early days of the DA show, what is the thing, and I've asked Steve-O and James, so don't be alarmed, and answer this honestly. What do you dislike? I won't even use the word hate. Dislike the most about the show? We want an honest, new, fresh opinion.
This is a tough one. You put me on the spot here.
I promise you, when we started on this new shift and I had James and Steve-O on this, I asked them this question too, and they answered it honestly. So I want you to answer it honestly too. You don't love everything. Everything's not roses. If you could change one thing about the DA show, and Joe D was the executive producer. Mraz has been kicked out, only works 8 hours. Nobody likes him anymore. He gets shuffled out of here. You're taking over the reins. You got to work with DA. You have to make a suggestion to DA. DA, you know what? I don't like that we do this. It's got to change. What is it?
You're not going to like this answer, but I'm not sure if I can answer it right now. I don't think I've worked on the show long enough to get a good enough grasp of what's going on.
Boy.
So I'm going to have
what a company man.
Maybe for the next podcast I'll be able to answer that.
But you're a company man. You're afraid to answer. You got no stones. And you know what? I knew that would be your answer. You got no stones. You just proved it to all our listeners and all our fans that Joe D'Aloisio has no stones. Can't answer anything honestly. I love everything. I show up early. I'm Joe D. I mean, enough.
You're really hating.
You got to be put in your place early. You got to earn the respect, buddy. Okay? Respect is not given. Respect is earned.
How about a bowl of pasta? Will that earn some respect?
Homemade sauce?
Homemade, baby.
You make your own sauce?
Yes, we do. Every August.
No, time out. I asked you, do you make your own sauce? And your reply to me was?
Yes.
Yes, comma, we do, you said.
We do. Family, yes. The D'Aloisio family.
Did not ask if your family did. Do you personally make your own sauce?
No, my mother does.
You're a mama's boy. Okay.
How am I a mama's boy?
My wife makes my sauce. I don't go around bragging that, real sauce, baby.
I'm just saying that every summer, the family gets together.
Right.
And we make about anywhere from 150 to 200 jars.
We don't do anything. Your mom does it all.
No, it's a collaborative effort.
What do you do?
Wash the tomatoes for her.
Oh, give me a break, Joe.
Help her push them through the machine.
No, you're a phony sauce maker, too.
How am I a phony sauce maker?
When Mr. Prego pumps out his sauce, do you think his kid takes credit?
Let's get serious. Prego's not real sauce.
Okay, I'll tell you this like I tell my wife, and I love my wife's sauce. I think she makes the best sauce on earth. However, the best sauces on earth, the real best sauces on earth, get jarred. That's why they're in jars. All right. Well, bring me in some of your mom's sauce that you didn't help with, and I'll try it out, and I'll give you an honest take.
No problem.
Got to be rigatoni, though. I don't like the thin, squiggly noodles like spaghetti.
Rigatoni?
Rigatoni, penne, anything. I like a fat, chubby noodle. I don't like a skinny, thin noodle.
Not surprised there.
All right, well, that's going to wrap up this edition of the Permission Granted podcast. Thanks to Joe D for hopping on, and so he sounds like he's going to be a curmudgeon. That'll be nice. Joe, you got a Twitter account we can tell the people to follow?
Yes, I actually just changed my Twitter handle.
Okay, give him to it.
It's Joe D CBS, nice and simple.
At Joe D CBS, all right, that is simple. You can follow me at Mraz CBS. Well, next week we'll be fully loaded and ready for the Wienership Challenge. We hope you guys are ready too. More details with that coming your way. Just listen to the DA show on CBS Sports Radio from 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Radio. But the Permission Granted podcast, all your off-air stuff that you've just listened to, you can constantly check us out on SoundCloud, on iTunes, on YouTube. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/The DA Show. That's going to do it. Everybody have a great weekend. Take care.